Here. Hi, I'm Alana Chernecki, and I'm the founder of Artful Teaching, Joyful Learning, and I help homeschoolers and educators teach with confidence, ease, and a splash of creativity so that their kids fall in love with learning. And today I wanted to hop on live to share a few easy strategies to get our kids writing and sharing stories. So today I'm going to be sharing with you how you can use something called a writer's journal or a writer's notebook to implement some really easy routines and rhythms into your day, even if your child isn't quite writing just yet. So the first thing I want to share is to have your child make their own cover. So making things their own really inspires ownership and responsibility of their work. So if you go to the store and you find something like this, this is a Hilroy scribbler. So this is one that is half lined, half lined and half blank. Okay, so it looks like this. In the States, these are usually called Mead, but here in Canada, we call them Hilroy. So a scribbler just like this, what you can do is you can invite your child to use some fun process art on a large sheet of paper, okay, something a bit more heavyweight like this. Just go a little bit, just use process art, stamps and a variety of paints, anything to kind of just, experiment and play with color and pattern and texture. And once you've done that, so I'm going to show you an example here. I'm going to flip my screen over here so you can see. It doesn't have to be fancy. The name of the game here is Pure Process. So I've got my favorite Uli watercolor palette here. Just have your child, experiment with a variety of colors and patterns and textures. If you have some printmaking tools, you can get them to, print with sponges and things, or texture tools, anything to just kind of make it their own. Okay, so we're going to pretend that I've already done that. And you can see here a couple of different examples. So this one was done with watercolor and salt. I've shared that technique many, many times. This one was done with a comb. So you can see there's some metallic paints. You can see a handprint on there. Once they have gone ahead and done that process art on their very large sheet of paper, we're going to pretend that this is your child's large sheet of paper here. So once they've gone ahead and have done that, what you will do is you'll take their journal. Okay, I'm going to stop my share here so you can see what I'm doing. You'll take their journal and you'll place it right in the center of their paper. Okay, so right in the center here, kind of line it up so that there is enough on either side. You'll take your little glue stick. Now again, we're pretending that this is their process art swatch. You'll glue the back cover. Okay, now those of you that remember in the olden days in the 80s, I'm dating myself here, but back in the 80s, we used to have these prefab book covers that you could actually buy at the store, but we're gonna make our own. So once you've added that glue, just paste it on. Now here's where the magic happens. So this is where you're going to take your scissors and you're just going to simply cut on a diagonal on each corner. Of course, your child can do this very easily. So a little snip there, you want it to be in line with the corner of the page. Once again, on this side over here, so 4 little snips. Okay, you can see that we've now cut those corners. The next thing you're going to do is snip it right to the middle of your book, and same thing on top, just like so. And then you can give that another little snip on an angle here. Okay, so this is this kind of fancy, it looks like a hexagon shape. Once again, you're going to snip right to the middle there. And once again over here. Okay, so that's the first step. The next step is you're going to now fold these ends in. So you're going to fold each of the sides, add a little glue. Okay, add a little glue again on this side. Okay. If you're tuning in live, tell me where you're tuning in from. I see you on Facebook. If you are tuning in live, I'd love to know where you're joining from. Making your child's writer's notebook their own is one of the best ways that you're going to really get them drawn in. So once they have a cover that's really, that they can be really proud of and shows, you know, their own unique creative spirit, it's something that's going to likely really draw them in every time. So if you can use some process art, some fun, you know, different techniques to really bring their book to life, that would be step one. So you can see my daughter Mia here has done hers as well. Oh, Calgary, says Kendra. Welcome from Calgary, fellow Canadian. So you can see she's done hers here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here for the next step. So you get the idea, right? So we're doing that on all four sides, right? So we've taped our edges in. We're going to do the same thing over on this side, glue and fold, okay? And then that becomes your journal cover, okay? So that's step one. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen once again, because I've got some really fun and easy strategies that I do want to show you all here. Okay, so I do want to show you all what this might look like for you at home. But before I do that, I wanted to talk to you about the stages of writing. Often we think of our kids, if they're non-writers or just really reluctant writers, emergent writers, they're not quite connecting letters and sounds yet to form those words. I wanted to show you the stages of writing that all children go through. So our kids typically start with random scribbles and marks, right? That is them showing their interest in the written word, and that's really exciting. They might begin to scribble from left to right, so finding that left to right tracking, right? They might be just drawing pictures at this stage. The next stage is when they are actually using those letters in their drawings. Okay, so then begins the labeling. So they might be labeling R for rainbow, T for tree. So this stage is maybe where your child is at, just the labeling stage. So this is what we consider writing, right? This is the stage of writing that your child is in, and this is where all kids learn to start. So if you can just invite them to draw a picture and encourage them to label their picture, that is the beginning of writing. Now from then, your child is going to start to use their beginning and middle and ending sounds to actually write some words. Now we call that kid spelling or invented spelling, and this is a perfectly good, solid way for your child to start to write. It's important here that we're not correcting them with the right words and with the proper spelling. That is not the goal here. The goal is for them to get their ideas on paper. They might even begin to start to read their work back to you, okay? And then finally, they're starting to use more conventions of spelling, right? Proper spelling, they might be remembering their sight words, they might be remembering to use proper punctuation, they're starting to space their words, and again, using proper punctuation with periods and exclamation marks and things like that. They might start to be experimenting with those. So I want to reassure you that each child goes through their own progression for writing, and this is generally what it looks like, okay? But before we get our children to write, we need to remember that writing is preceded by children's ability to share stories, to storytell, to narrate. So giving them all kinds of opportunities to tell stories, to talk. I love this quote by James Britton. It says, "Reading and writing float on a sea of talk." And so that's why show and tell is such an important skill in kindergarten, because it's giving children something to write about. It's giving our children stories to tell. All right, so let's have a look at what I love to use to inspire our beginning writers. So this is a ritual that you can use every week in your homes if you're homeschooling. And this is something I did in my practice as a teacher. It was called a sharing circle. And inside our writers' notebooks, we would reflect on our weekend at home and then this week at school. So every Monday we gathered together in a little circle and we would use something called a talking stick. Okay, so many Indigenous communities use a sharing circle as a way to share ideas and to negotiate and to solve problems. I love to use a sharing circle to tell stories and to share about our day and our weekends at home. So if you have a little stick like this, you can kind of embellish it in any which way, but this becomes your tool to share stories and to take turns. So set up a little sharing circle, and you can start with the frame on the weekend. Okay, so on Mondays, you would talk about something fun that happened on the weekend. All kids have stories to tell. Maybe they went to a birthday party. Maybe they went, ice skating, whatever the case is. Get them to be short and sweet and succinct, and use the frame on the weekend. Okay, so here you can see the talking stick. She's doing some talking. This is going to lend itself now to our writing inside our journal. Now, once you have done that, once you've done your sharing circle, what you can do is a little bit of modeling, okay? Modeling is a really important strategy for our kids because it helps to show exactly what our next steps are. We're scaffolding for our children. We're sort of starting with a group safe setting, and then we're passing the responsibility on to our kids. So if you have a chart stand like the one I have behind me over there, you can use that, or a clipboard with a simple frame like this will do too. But this says on the weekend. So this is where I would do a bit of group brainstorming. We would start with some pictures. So let's say, for example, your child celebrated their birthday over the weekend. And so they explained in the sharing circle, on the weekend, I went to a birthday party. So you might start by drawing a few little pictures, okay, maybe a party hat, things like that, some cake. Okay, what kid doesn't love a birthday party, right? So you would start by drawing that picture, and then you would invite them into labeling that picture. I went to a birthday party. So what sounds do you hear in birthday party? You would have them, you would do a strategy called share the pen. So you give them the pen, they come up and they would label birthday party. Okay, and of course, if you have one more child that's at a higher level, more advanced, you can have them actually write the words out. You can have them even write the whole sentence frame out. But the idea here is to generate some ideas for which to write about. That's then going to inspire them to now take their ideas, take their stories, and translate them to their work. Now I'm going to show you a super simple example here of us doing a sharing circle. Here we go. And for some reason we can't hear it, but here they are. Here we are doing a little sharing circle. We're passing the talking stick around. We are sharing some ideas, some stories, and here you can see sharing the pen. And this then translates again into their journals. Now these girls are a little bit older, so they're already adept with, left to right printing and some conventions of spelling and things like that. But what I would invite you to do is to set up something called some criteria. Okay, so criteria setting with our kids is so important because it helps them to have efficacy over their learning. It helps them to be responsible, take ownership, ultimately creating our little independent learners, right? We want them to be self-sufficient and independent learners. So if they have a set of criteria that they can follow and sort of check off, how will I know I've done a good job? You can include that right at the beginning of their journal. Okay, right at the beginning here. So in this case, if you have, a little bit of an emergent writer who's ready to start adding some words, you might ask them, did I remember to tell or to draw a picture of my story? Did I remember to start my sentence with a capital letter? Okay, so if you're working on punctuation, if that's where your child is at, then that might be one of their criteria. Did I end my sentence with a period or a question mark? Did I use 5 or more colors? That's just kind of a bit of, to inspire them to really take their time and to be thoughtful about their work. And then of course, did I do my very best work? So I'll just show you a few little examples here of my daughter's work. This is when she was in kindergarten. Okay, so you can see here, she started with a picture, and you can see she's using her kids' spelling, her invented spelling, her knowledge of beginning, middle, and ending sounds. And she's got a few sight words there, right? This one says, this week at school, I made flowers, right? This week at homeschool. On the weekend, I celebrated my birthday. Okay, so on and so forth. If you have a child who is not yet ready to start associating those letters, the beginning, middle, and ending, a simple picture with some labels. So just skipping this whole part altogether is fine. You can also scribe for your child, okay? So sharing a story with you writing for them, that's also another strategy. So this is a super simple routine, a rhythm that can be done every sort of Monday and Friday. So on Mondays, we're reflecting about what we did on the weekend. On Fridays, we're sharing what our favorite thing was at homeschool. What did we learn about this week that was exciting? So a very, very simple routine, a simple rhythm that you can do every Monday and Friday to get your children writing, okay? So we wanna really capitalize on those stories, capitalize on those narratives, and get them into the written word or the illustrated word. All right, and that ends our session for today. I hope you all had enjoyed that and got a few little ideas, starting with, of course, using process art to make their journals their own, right? And so making that their own. And then, of course, using some criteria to set ourselves up for success, and using that sharing circle, as I shared earlier, to start talking about those ideas and to start sharing those stories so that children have something to indeed write about. I hope that was helpful, and thank you all so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.